Stop. I'm not here to show you how I shoot the boss in the face. You already get that. Arrive, shoot boss in face, leave. That's what's involved in the camp boss. It's pretty boring. Just make sure you don't die, right? Now, there's a lot more preparation involved and things that you need to know about, the little nuances that are going to get you ahead. Here, we're going to talk about all of that. So let's go ahead and rewind it and make sure you're ready to fight the boss before you even get there. Let's go back to the lab and see what we can do. I'm going to preface all of this by saying most of what we speak about is going to pertain to both the sub 20 and over 20 levels bosses. I will go into some detail of the level 20 boss, but all the preparation has to do with both bosses. So just listen up no matter what level you're on. Now, that being said, I'm not going to talk about any of these bugs, glitches, or ways to lock the boss in place, because honestly, if NetEase hasn't already fixed it, they will very shortly. So I'm going to take you through this 100% legit, 100% the way it should be, and NetEase intended it to be played. So now that we're back at the lab trying to find out how we can increase our damage, we need to check the boxes. I'm not talking about feeds. If you don't know what feeds is, you need to watch the video down below in the description where it says the feeds video. That will help you out a heck of a lot when it comes to just about anything that you encounter, doing better at that, literally anything. Watch that video, it'll help you out. But for Camp Boss, we're going to go ahead and scale it back even before that to make sure that you guys are set up individually for Camp Boss in particular. Alright, now here we are, days before Camp Boss. We're just getting ourselves ready, making sure that we understand everything. Now, over my experience as Mayor of Red Hand, what I've seen, the most commonly forgot item for our newer players is to level their combat and crafting skills. Now, I'm not talking about just getting your mastery up. I'm talking about in your skills window. You open up your skills window, click on combat or crafting, and in the top right, you're gonna see a basic combat and crafting skill. This needs to be maxed out. I don't know where that wasn't told to some players or if they just forgot over the levels, but that needs to be the maximum. If you are 77 craft, you need to be 77 basic craft skill. Yes, it's a new dollars dump if you haven't been keeping up with it, but you must do it. It is the easiest way to increase your damage if you haven't done it already. Craft increases crit, combat increases actual base damage. Without that maximum, you are literally riding the short bus. You need to fix it now. Now that you got your skills worked out and you know that you're up to date on them, you need to look at your equipment. Now, for Camp Boss, at this point in time, it being April of 2020, the Collector's Edition KSG is the only gun that will suffice. Even with the ARC, even with the AN, the Collector's Edition KSG, not the Snow, the Collector's Edition. It fires more pellets per shot than the Snow or below, so it, even if it does less damage with each pellet, it's still going to do more damage overall. It can't be beat, not right now. Maybe along the way when we're at 5-star electric arc rifle or something like that, maybe it gets beat. I don't see it happening. The damage is just ridiculous. You need a Collector's Edition KSG. We're talking about 89 AP or higher. This is expensive. As I explained in feeds, it's expensive, I understand. But you need to build up that money, you need to save for it, and you need to buy it. Because that's what's going to make your damage pop. And I mean a real pop. The only way I see the Collector's Edition KSG getting beat in damage to Camp Boss is if they come out with a level 75 or a level 80 shotgun. So get the KSG, just get it. You won't need two. One will suffice. Sleep on it every night. Care for that thing like it's your own child. All right, let's move on. Another thing that I see missing or neglected is having a good auxiliary weapon. If you don't already know, 10% of the stats of your auxiliary weapon, when it comes to physical damage stats, get transferred over to your main weapon damage. I say that again. 10% of your aux stats go to your main weapon damage. That means that if I have a saw blade that has 100 AP, has crit on it, and it has Formula Plus with crit, 10% of all that will go to your rifle's damage, your KSG's damage to the freaking camp boss. That's big, man. That if you don't have a good auxiliary or an auxiliary at all, you're missing a weapon. You've not prepared yourself. I don't know where this got lost in translation. I don't think NetEase really gave you a good definition of what the auxiliary did. It was up to the players to find out that it happened months after the auxiliary came out. People were like, oh, hey, auxiliary, it's actually pretty good. That's just the way of life. You need a good auxiliary weapon. Invest in it just like you do your main weapon. That being said, if you're on the saw blade, you want to get the AP, the base AP of that saw blade up to 105. That is because of the 10% rule and the rounding rule. So it rounds up when it takes the 10%. So 10% of 100 is 10. Because it rounds up at the 5, 10% of 105 ends up being 11. So you end up getting 11 AP. That's the max you're going to get out of it. You can put on a knob for your mod that is level 13, and I still don't think you're going to get 12 AP. I mean, my math might be off on that, but I did the math at some point in time, and I'm not going to venture that far. So get yourself a saw blade. Get it, I believe you want it to be around 99 or up. If your saw blade's AP is 99, you need a knob on there that's level 6. That will raise your auxiliary weapon's AP by 6, so that you'll hit that 105 mark. So that's what you're aimed after when it comes to your auxiliary weapon. Now let's get further into mods. There's a big nuance that people discovered just about a month ago that did change a lot about mod structure when it comes to the camp boss. So let's go in on that. So now we're going for mods. A lot of people have base level mods straight across the board. Like you've got 3 9s on your main and 3 9s on your auxiliary. That's not the way to do it. If you notice, your base AP is going to matter the most. Now, a lot of people had it under in their minds that base AP is good up to a certain point until the damage bonus percent ends up giving you a bonus higher than the AP gives you, if that makes any sense at all. But don't worry about that. Throw that out. All right. A guy just discovered not too long ago that damage bonus has no effect on the camp boss. That means that your muzzle and your sculpture do not play as big of a role as they once previously thought that it did. Now, I say don't play as much as a role because I need you to distinguish. The guy that came out with the YouTube video discovering all this said that the muzzle and the sculpture are useless, to break them down all the way. That's not true. They still give good crit, which is very important. So you still want to level your muzzle and your sculpture, but not as high as your tassel and your aim assist, because tassel and aim assist will always give more crit. So when it comes down to your mods and camp boss, the order of precedence that you need to level, you should pump your stock as high as it can possibly go. What I mean by that is that you want to level it to the highest level that you can get it with the mod materials that you have. That being said, once you get it up to that level, you want to make sure that you do not go past 0 experience into that level. That means that you'll have more mod materials available for the next items that we're going through. Now, after the stock, you want to level that aim assist. You're going to take it as high as you possibly can, but not past 0. Then you're going to want to level your muzzle. Now, I say muzzle before the tassel or anything else because no matter what, the 10% rule still does apply. Your tassel will never give as much crit as your muzzle will. So you want to make sure that you still level your muzzle, third most important. After that, then comes the tassel. Then after that, the sculpture and the knob should be a preset level to get your auxiliary, which we already spoke about, up to that 105 mark to get the extra AP. Now, I know that's all very confusing, maybe a little TLDR. If you have questions about it, message me in game or on Discord. The Discord link is in the description below. I'm happy to answer all your questions. Please, I'm here for you. But just understand, if you're frustrated with your damage and you want to do high damage like these real hitters, you need to break this down. This needs to be your science. You need to understand it and apply it to your equipment. It's the only way. All right, we've gotten through the beginner level stuff. Everything I just spoke of, except for the mods, should be things that you already know. It's common knowledge. It's not really masterclass material. So once you're up to snuff and you have everything in order, you're ready to go into feeds. And I think we might still have some failures there. So let's get on with it. We'll start out with the first F of feeds. We're going to go through this quick, mind you. The first F of feeds is Formula Plus. Every single piece of your equipment should have a Formula Plus on it before you go into Camp Boss. And I mean your helmet, your armor, your main weapon, and your auxiliary. I say your helmet because your helmet doesn't do any offensives like I explained in the feeds video, but it still can be have Formula Plus applied to it. Infected damage, light firearms damage, penny pincher, back damage, all these things matter. Try to get it on there. Light firearms damage and infected damage, as I said in the feeds video, is the most important. Go for that. Auxiliary, you cannot add additional light firearms damage and infected damage from your auxiliary. The only Formula Plus that we found that can be applied is crit. So go ahead and get an attack regent and try to get some crit on there. Roll it until you do. Yes, it's only 10% of whatever crit you roll, but it's still more crit. Crit is damage. Get it. Now we go into the next letter, which is E for Energize. No Energizing works on the Camp Boss. Yeah, it might change, but at this point in time in April, Energizing still doesn't work. Like I said in the feeds video, I don't know why they would take that feature away. Whatever, it doesn't work. Go on to Enhance. You already know you need to go onto your mods. You need to put 1 or 2 materials in each of your mods that is level 7 and above. That will temporarily buff that mod by 1 level for a half hour per material that you put into it. So what I do is 2 materials per mod for each event that I go to. Yeah, it's a lot of materials. It's a pay to win thing, but even if you're free to play, you could still collect materials and get 3 for each event. Infected Invasion, Camp Boss, whatever you need the enhancement for. You don't need to put any enhancements into your armor. We'll get into why later when we get into the actual strategy of the boss. Now let's go ahead and get on to the next E, which is Eat. For eating, you already saw in the other video, you need the good food. You need to master your food. For the Camp Boss, you want to try to get the Ox Tripe with the 1055, as I explained. The only way you could get it better than that is if you get a lucky hit and get crit on like the pork or the Ox Tripe. Go ahead and try to do that. If you get it, that's awesome, but it's so rare. Unless you're just making food all day long, which is a bummer, you're not going to be able to keep that up. So go ahead and save those things for really clinch moments, like you guys are going to clear the boss this week, or you know, you're going to Clash or something like that. I don't know. Yeah, you need that 1055 Ox Tripe at least, though. That's big damage, and the headshot damage really counts on the Camp Boss. That's clinch. And you want 2 of them. That's one to eat right before you start the camp boss, and another to eat right before 10 minutes in, so that you can keep the buff going the entire time. Now we're going to go into drink, which is very similar. You're going to get advanced antiseptic, and you want at least 2 of them. Drink one before 10 minutes in. That means you'll have the buff throughout the entire time. That's very important. So let's go quickly over the drone. I went over drones in the FEEEDDS video. You need 2 combat drones for serious damage. Now, there are some buffs between the different tiers of drones that can help out. The tier 4 drone is just disgusting how OP it is. It actually applies its own devastate, which is its own devastate, so it's not like when you stack with bloodbath. It applies it for everyone, for what we presume is actually a global buff that we've seen damage go up in everybody's video when one person's tier 4 drone goes off. That's insane. It's absolutely insane. The tier 4 drones are so OP. If you're in a high-end camp and have somebody with that kind of money to get a tier 4 combat drone, or 2 of them, do it. Do it. The damage is ridiculous. It applies a 2 armor deficit debuff randomly, and also has a triggerable 3 armor debuff that you can apply by firing its missile off manually. It's insane. It's absolutely nuts. The other tier 2 and tier 3 have their own buffs. Go ahead and research them. See what you can afford. Get them. It's so worth it. You really need to. Now, Serum, the only thing you're going to bring into Camp Boss, period. The only serums you are bringing into Camp Boss are the blue hardener and the yellow sedative. Nothing else. Do not bring greens. Do not bring reds. And purples aren't worth it. Bring blue and yellow. Strictly. Make sure. Now, we're going to get into some reasons why. All right. Blue and yellow. You're worried about shields and you're worried about slowing them down. Yes, both the camp bosses can be slowed down. Why are we only using shields and not health? Because all of you guys, when you get your auxiliary, are going to make sure it has bloodbath on it. This is a major strategy. This is a major damage increase. This is 15% more damage if you do this right. So we're going to get into the next step. We're done with feeds. We're right before the camp boss. What do? We're all sitting at the vault, and we are all taking our armor off and taking our shield off, looking at the ground with our howitzers and shooting ourselves to death. Not quite death, to the point where you're bleeding. Then you're going to recover yourself, and then you should have 20 health. If you have a collector's edition howitzer, you can continue firing at the ground, hitting yourself for 1 damage a pop until you have 1 health left. But that's our goal, is to have the lowest health possible going into Camp Boss. This, if you have the auxiliary with Bloodbath, which you should, it's major improvements. You must have that. You should be triggering Bloodbath to its maximum. That will increase your damage by 15%. It's huge, man. It's really big. So after you've done that, you want to put your armor on. Now, your armor should not have any HP regen on it. HP regen is not sought after nowadays. If you are keeping an eye on the market, you've noticed that. It's actually bad to have HP regen on any of your equipment. Helmet, armor, shield, all these things can have health regen. Make sure that yours does not if you're running Bloodbath, or you'll cripple your own damage. So your health is low as heck. What you want to do is put your armor back on, put your shield back on, throw down a blue, get your shields back up to full, and sit around and wait. Now, we're only a couple minutes out from the camp boss. We're assembling everybody. You want to do a few things before we get into any of the eating or drinking or pulling out your drones. What you want to do is make sure that none of your camp members have titles on. That's the achievable titles that are above your player head. you want to make sure that you turn them off. You do that by clicking your player profile, then going into your title menu and clicking the title that you have applied. It'll have in the bottom right the option to remove title. Do that and your lag will go down. Another way to get your lag down in the camp boss is to take your backpack off. Make sure all of your campmates have their backpacks off. I say this because this game renders polygons. That's how like everything that you see are a conjunction of polygons, and the game has to make them appear every single time that you load in another player, and they have to stay there until the player is unloaded. That's why you'll see players disappear and reappear in really congested areas, because the game is unloading some so that it doesn't get overtaxed by the creation and maintaining of the players around you. So what you want to do is have everybody take their backpacks off. Lower that polygon value by a lot. Some of these backpacks, like the jetpacks and stuff like that, they have a lot of polygons. They're super fancy, super cool, super useless. Take them off. You don't need a jetpack for the camp boss. Yes, the under 20 camp boss, if you have a jetpack on, you could just fly yourself up to the top and it saves you for damage. If you have the jetpack, maybe you make an exception for that. I don't know, your camp freaking leadership needs to make the call on that. But for the 20 and over boss, no reason to have a jetpack at all. Don't have it. Take it all off. Minimize the lag. Take one for the team and help your buddies out with the lag. That will reduce lag a lot. People don't think about that. But yeah, titles and backpacks off. And now we are 1 minute out from the helicopter coming down to the vault. We have all of our camp members standing by. Our healths are low as heck, and we are going to get prepared to go in. Now, a 1 minute out is a good mark to tell your camp members to start eating their food, drinking their advanced antiseptic, and pulling a drone out and getting ready to go through. When you go through there into the camp boss, you don't want to be eating and drinking and pulling your drone out. It's a waste of time. You want to rush to the boss. So minute out, eat, drink, drone, get it done. That's what I tell my camp members every single time that we go for the camp boss. I say 1 minute out, eat, drink, drone. That's when everybody starts doing their stuff. And then, at 9 minutes into it, I'll say the same thing again. Eat, drink, drone, whenever, it's possible. And make sure that they're fully buffed before we go in, that everybody remembers and nobody forgets. It's a team effort. Make sure you guys are helping each other out. All right, we're all buffed up. It's time to go in. The helicopter comes down. We're going in. Now, you're going to see a lot of the level 20 and above boss here, but a lot of the targeting strategies and some other things still apply to the 19 and under boss. So please just keep paying attention. You'll still learn a lot, even if your camp is not up to the level 20 boss. So let's get into it. So to preface all of this, some of the video that you're going to see is involving some of the worst lag that I have ever seen on the camp boss. And for you guys that are doing camp boss here in April, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The game, since the last patch that we've had, has been extraordinary for lag, and there's really nothing we can do about it until they fix the situation. That being said, I'm using this video because you can see right off the bat my shots aren't registering and a lot of my damage is being lost, and you'll see that I do multiple reloads and stuff like that. Just the worst lag it could possibly be. That being said, before you lose interest and think this is a loss of resource, understand that in this boss I did 3.7 million damage. That's not a flaunt. I'm not trying to flex on you. I'm letting you know that even if you still lag terribly, if you follow what you're supposed to do and make sure that you're always on par, you will still knock the socks off with damage. We didn't kill this boss, but I did pretty phenomenal for a terrible situation. And that's just because I did what I know what I need to do. And I'm about to let you know what that is. Just keep watching. Now, right off the bat and throughout the entire fight, what you need to think of as an individual the entire time is that you need to put as many shots of your KSG on the boss as possible. Get as many pellets all the time on the boss. You need to run up to that boss and start shooting it in the face as many times as possible. Not running around, not trying to get yourself situated, just get shots off. Make sure that your drones are in the air. Make sure that there are bullets from your guns going into this boss at every second possible. Now, with that being said, you need to consider mitigating factors like you're reloading or you're pulling out your drone. Now, you have to be aware of your ammo. You using a KSG means that you have a pretty good idea how to count to 12. You can shoot. When you're getting low, you can look up, see that you're getting to that 7 shots left in your magazine, and you start moving towards an ammo box. Now, the further you get away from the boss, obviously, your damage will go down with a KSG. That's understandable, but understand that any damage is better than none. If you're getting low or you go out and you turn and run a long distance just to go reload and run back, you're actually losing damage by trying to go faster like that. If you take the last magazine to back towards an ammo box while still shooting the boss, you're still putting damage in, and that counts. It does. It's a lot less damage as if you were in close range of the boss, but it's still useful. You need to start doing that. It's called a running reload. If you're right next to an ammo box, or the boss is within distance of the ammo box, you don't need to be close to the boss. Watch this video. I'm not close to the boss all the time. I'm really not. There's no reason for that. If I'm near an ammo box, I'm going to stand near an ammo box and get the same damage from far away. I know what you're going to say next. While I'm trying to get headshots. You're not going to always be able to get headshots. And the common misconception with people is that as long as I'm getting headshots, that's all that counts. You're using a shotgun. It's got to scatter. If you can't get a clean headshot, you're going to lose pellets off the side of the boss or above the boss and lose damage. If you have pellets that are making 0 damage, that's very, very, very bad. What you need to make sure that you're doing is damage, period. All 7 pellets from your KSG hitting the boss in the chest is better than 4 pellets hitting the boss in the face. It might not be a hell of a lot better, but it's darn close. So make sure that you're getting clean shots. That's the most thing that count. That's the biggest thing that counts. Get all your shots in. Get clean shots. Also, that being said, I know you will miss some. It happens. Look at my video. I missed plenty. It was a staggeringly terrible aim for me. I don't play on PC either. A lot of people have much better time playing on PC, but it's just not something I do. I'm a mobile all the way. Now, for your drone and continuous damage on the camp boss, you want to make sure that you understand what the drone is doing. The drone will go down. Your drone will not stay up the entire time. It will go down for running out of ammo, and it will go down for being beat on by the boss or destroyed by some kind of AoE factor. We found out that you can get your drone back up easily while reloading your weapon. So as soon as your KSG runs out of ammo, go ahead and recycle your next drone in and get it rolling. That's why I say you need 2 combat drones, so that at all times you can have a drone in the air. That's very important. It's a lot of extra damage. It's like another weapon for you. You need to make sure that you're using it. Also, with the tier 4 combat drone, make sure that you're constantly hitting that missile whenever it's up. That's huge damage added to everyone. Make sure that you're doing it. That's very, very important. Now for the camp strategy portion. When we get to the special skill of the boss, be it the under 20 or 20 and above boss, we have a team dedicated to taking care of that event for us. So when the boss uses a special skill, our team will take over and make sure that we're okay. In the 19 and below, you want a towers team. This is 3 or 4 players, if you need it, that are dedicated to throwing down towers around the outside of the boss's arena prior to him making his jump that will kill you all. So you need to make sure that you designate these players that every single boss that they are doing it. A misconception that I had earlier on in our camp's history is that the low damage people should be used for the towers team. That's a vast problem. The issue with low damage people is that they don't know very well and aren't skilled very well to be trusted in order to do that every time. It's a lot of pressure on them to save everybody's life in the camp. So make sure that above using low damage people, you use people that are smart and dependable. Picking a team to do this should be like picking a special forces team. These people need to be elite. They need to know their stuff, and they need to be able to react perfectly every time or everyone will die. The same goes for the level 20 and above boss. You need a fires team. Now, the level 20 and above boss does a little bit more. There are a few factors that alter their situation and responsibilities. One being the fire. If you go to use the fire and use the special wood from the fire, it will heal people within that fire. We don't want that to happen. We're all using bloodbath. If you put the special wood in the fire, you'll heal the people that come and try to save themselves in your fire circle. That is wrong. You want to use regular wood to start your fire. Your fire teams should never use the special wood. Sometimes it's a mistake. I get it. Fix it. Don't do it. You screw everybody over that does it. In my camp, we definitely will single you out, and we don't want to do that to our precious people that are just, sacrificing their damage to help us out. Use regular wood. Don't use a special wood. Another responsibility of the fires team is to use Molotovs on the AoE blobs that the level 20 and above boss pumps out every now and then. Now, there are some different strategies about this. I'm telling you what Red Hand does, but a lot of other camps do differently. Now, there is a way to mitigate the AoE by having it shot out of the air. I think that's too confusing and costs too much damage, so we let the AoE go and just avoid it. It's not really all that impactful. It's very obvious. Just don't get tunnel vision into the boss and make sure that you're watching where you're standing and you won't get affected by it. Another thing your fire team can do is to make sure that there's always a campfire down near the middle somewhere. This makes it so that when the boss sends out his little shadow follower blobs, it's literally a thing he casts out and it picks a player and follows it and hurts that player. If they run to the campfire and have the campfire between it and the shadow will hit the campfire and stop. Also, not something that Red Hand does because we're not really worried about that damage. It's not doing enough to cause big issues, so we're not going to overtax our fire team and cost us more damage because they're not paying attention to doing damage. They're paying attention to who's got to put the fire down next. And it's just, I think it's overcomplicating things and costing us too much damage. So we just soak the damage or avoid it completely. And lastly, the red circles that the boss puts out. This is when the level 20 or above boss will kneel down in front of it or lean down in front of it and then cast out a red circle on the ground. If you're inside the red circle when it pops, then everybody inside the red circle will get entangled in vines and stopped immediately. For us, we're pretty lax on this. We just require our members to stay out of the red circle. You should be paying attention. You should be making sure that you're not dealing with this. Some of our veteran players know how to place it better and move it about so as to not mess with people too much, but the issue is that at that point in time you can get the easiest headshots off, because if the person that's getting targeted isn't moving around a lot, then the boss will be staying with his head down at eye level looking the same direction. The Camp Ascend has a pretty good strategy for it, where they have whoever's targeted by that just slowly creep backwards and forwards, and everybody else is on a 45-degree angle to the left and the right of the boss, firing at its face. It works pretty well. Getting 100 people to do that is pretty tough, but you know, it is what it is. I do kind of require that my members be a little bit more vigilant and just kind of roll with it, so we don't have to get all structured with that. I like to keep it fun and light without too much control, because it gets confusing, especially when you have a multilingual team. So that's really the only reason that we don't do what Ascend does. They have a great strategy, and I'm definitely appreciative of the hard work that they put into that. But for us, we have Brazilian people that don't speak a lick of English, and we have to translate for them. It's kind of hard to get them to do this, so we just make sure that they understand that they need to not step in red circles. But like I said, at that point in time, just get as many headshots as you can. Again, you're looking at the boss at eye level and down, so make sure that if you're going for a headshot, get the headshot with all the pellets. Don't miss, because that's huge waste of damage. And you gotta see that when I'm shooting the boss, I'm doing 400 some odd damage a pellet. If I miss a full shot, that's so much damage lost. I think it's somewhere around like 3,000 damage just out the freaking window, and that can't happen. It needs to be stopped as much as possible, because yes, like I said, you're gonna miss, but you really got to make sure that you don't. And that goes for everybody, not just your heavy hitters. The low end, you're at the low end because something's going wrong and you're not paying attention, you're not doing the due diligence. But whatever, let's move forward. So we're going about this. We've gone through all the major phases. Obviously, the level 20 and above bosses spawn zombies every now and then. Just kill the zombies. There's no special strategy for that. None needed. Just kill the zombies. They're really easy. It's very important because they start knocking people down and start breaking the fires. So if he's really close to a special ability, you need everybody in the camp to avert their attention from the boss and make sure the zombies are down, or they'll start taking out your fire team's fires that they just worked hard to put down. Make sure that doesn't happen, or people are going to die. Also, at 70%, the boss will split into two bosses. They will do double the amount of special skills and stuff like that. You know, 2 circles going, 2 AoEs going out, 2 shadow skills going out. Now you gotta watch out. Make sure you're extra vigilant, but don't get friggin' too wound up. Make sure you're still keeping up with damage. You need to keep that damage. Also, make sure you're damaging the right boss. The split of the boss into 2 bosses actually brings a pretty unique feature. You need to make sure that you're targeting the right boss, because one of the bosses takes 100% damage like normal, and the other boss takes 150% damage. So whatever damage you're doing as headshots is what you're going to do with body shots to this one boss, and for headshots is going to be 200% normal damage. You need to make sure that you're targeting that boss. That's when you're going to see damage fly. Everybody in your camp needs to be vigilant of their damage and what boss they're going after. Everything the same applies. Stay out of the AoEs. Stay in a fire teams. You're gonna be working hard for the short period of time that there's 2 bosses. Make sure that you're putting your fires in safe places. You don't need to have all your fires in the middle of the map. When the boss splits into 2, understand that fires in the middle of the map probably will not survive. There's too much going on. Make sure that you have at least 1 fire that's up the hill and out of the way, so that if all of them go get destroyed because of AoE, zombies, whatever, that players can run like hell up to that hill, and get safe in case they can't find another place. All that stuff kind of pertains to the work of the mayor and organizing their camp, and the officers as well. You need to really be leaders and start enforcing your standards and making sure that people understand what they need to do. It takes time, it takes dedication. If you don't have the time to dedicate to it, if you don't have the willpower to really invest yourself into creating this strategy for your camp, it's just not going to happen for you. That's the way it is. This is a very complex and very involved game. If you can't be there to be involved, or if none of your officers will, then nothing will be accomplished. And that goes for the individual too. This isn't called LifeAfter Masterclass because it's easy. It's for the masters of this game. This is the high level stuff. if you can't dedicate everything that I've talked about, you're not going to make it. You're not going to be a hitter. You're not going to be, you know, making several million damage at the camp boss. It just won't happen for you. It really takes you taking time, making sure you do the right stuff, and make no mistakes. This farming, getting the food skill, building mod levels, it's time consuming. It gets boring. Making sure you have the mastery, get the new dollars to get your combat up. It takes time, you know. It may not be fun, but if you really want to rock this game, it's what you got to do. It's how it works. You know, like I said, this is a master class. It's not the newbie class. I'm not here to describe on how to walk. I'm telling you what shoes to wear to run fast. And thank you for watching, guys. If you guys have any suggestions or anything, put them in the comments below. If you have anything to add, by all means, put it in the comments below. Hit me up on Discord. Send me a DM. Hit me up on game. You know, I'm all ears and I'm all here for you. All right, guys. Bye.